What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of the hosts from the Real Fan Review. Today with me, we got our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
With us tonight, we also got my brother, B.
What's going on, everybody?
Yes, and maybe featuring Sanj today. We'll see if Sanj comes on. But if not, you got us three to talk you through the Uncharted trailer released this week from Sony. And we also have Dune, the review. We're going to do a non-spoiler, spoiler review as we always do. Yeah. And we'll get to let you guys know what we thought about the movie, what we think it's worth it for you guys to go see, and all the craziness about it that we want to discuss here. Because we try not to talk too much after the movie. We look at each other, we go, okay. And then we're like, we'll save it. So we talk online. So let's get right into the Uncharted trailer that came out this week. I mean, Brandon, you know, I know, Al knows, I love Uncharted. That is one of my favorite video game series. I rarely play games from the beginning to the end, and I've done it with Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. That's one of my favorite video games of all time because it plays like a movie. It really does.
Yeah.
And man, I got to tell you, a little disappointed that I saw things from part 1, things from part 2, and things from part 3 all in this movie. I'm like, why are they doing the plane scene? Yeah. Why is he looking for the treasure? That's part 1. That's part 3. All I got to see is a train, and it's part 2 right there. So I'm over it. But I have to say, Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg being in the movie looks great. I really wanted my Sully to be a lot older, but hey, listen, maybe this is a younger Drake where we'll follow along, where Sully will get older as we get older with the characters. But so far, I got to tell you, it looks adventurous, kind of Indiana Jones as it should be, because that's what it is. But overall, I'm excited. I can't wait to see more. How about you, Al?
Yeah, no, the chemistry between the two of them looked pretty good from what we've seen so far in this trailer. But to your point, like seeing clips from different series already, like 1, 3, and so forth, is there going to be a sequel? And then if there is it going to be its own storyline? Are they going to come up with something new that they didn't do in the games? But so far, look, like I said, just seeing the chemistry between the two of them, both separately, they're good actors. And sometimes you don't get a good mix when you put two good actors together. But I'm glad that it looks like we are, especially on something like, video game movies have always been hit or miss. We haven't had that many good ones. So I'm hoping that this bucks the trend and brings us some a good movie that doesn't have to be dependent on knowing about the video game, but gives us those Easter eggs that help us enjoy going to see the movie.
Yeah, Brandon. So, I mean, listen, man, I don't know how far you got with those games, Brandon, but how'd this trailer do for you?
Actually, it was really funny. Mark Wahlberg, he had a show on HBO Max. And it was going through like his life, like all the projects he does, all the businesses that he tries to put himself into. And one of the clips was him finishing up on the set of Uncharted. And he was talking about it. He goes, when we first started filming this movie and, the idea for it, he goes, I was the star. He goes, I was Nathan Drake. He goes, and all of a sudden, 5-6 years go by, and now I'm Sully. And it was funny because, we talked about Uncharted almost 7 years ago.
Yeah,
he was the number one person on the list who could be Nathan Drake. And so it's funny to see how
Him and Nathan Fillion.
Nathan
if
Fillion.
They could have de-aged Nathan Fillion, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Right? But, it's one of those things where we get very heavy-minded when it comes to video game content, and how it relates to the big screen. And I understand where you have to change the story to fit better for a movie, X, Y, and Z. But I think to your point, the fact that it seems as if they're taking elements from all 3 games, well, 3 or 4, all 3 or 4 games and saying, oh, this is going to be one cohesive story, and we're going to make it make sense. It sounds like a little much, and I'm a little worried about it because knowing these movies, that video game movies, they're probably going to get an hour and a half screen time. So an hour and a half to tell this big story that's going to encompass all these things is a little worrisome. I would have preferred if they had done it, the video game wise. I know that the video game already exists, but if they had broken up the story, made a whole new story starring Nathan Drake and, Sully, maybe the story of how they met, that would have been the better way to go upon it. But I hope it's good. I hope it doesn't suck.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Tom Holland is great, and I think with Mark Wahlberg, it's going to be a really good duo. So I think we're going to have a good movie in terms of what they bring onto it. I just hope the story contends with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, that's one of my fears is sometimes, do we want it to really stay in the lane of the video game, right? Where they follow the path, where 1 is 1, part 2 is 2, part 3 is 3, then we have the Thief's End part 4, where that's what we want the movies to do. But then we want to be surprised as well. We don't want to know it beat to beat. But if it drifts off to a new thing and its own thing, sometimes that doesn't please the fans either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's your guys' take on it following or maybe going its own path?
Well, I mean, think about Sonic, right? Sonic didn't necessarily follow the games.
No.
It has elements of the game, even like the progression of where it's going, follows the game somewhat. Like, hey, you didn't have Tails and Knuckles in the first Sonic, but you're going to have them in the second one. That follows the route of how the games went too, but it was a whole new story. It was something different. So I think as long as they do something that maybe is reminiscent of the games, but a different story and its own story, I think it could be successful on its own.
Yeah. How about you, Al, man? Do you want these stories to kind of follow along with the game beat for beat, or do you want it to come up with its own new story, incorporating some of the stuff from the games?
Either one, as long as it's a good story, like what Brandon was saying, because we've had movies that were based on original, other IP where they took elements from the original story, brought it in, but created their own storyline to modernize it a little bit, so to speak. So if they did something like that and it was still a good story, but, like I said, they made references to the original character's story backdrop so that fans that know, oh, well, no, that's not how that happened, or that's not how he got that, I think, like if the ring is of significance, so if they change how, things come into play or what they signify to characters and they're really straying off the storyline, then I think they may lose us, the fans. But if they keep those elements and maybe, like you said, make a deeper story or expand on certain elements and it plays out to a good story, I think that'll work.
Yeah, man. Listen, overall, I thought the trailer was good. It was exciting to see Nathan. He looked like Nathan Drake. He got the shirt. He got the ring on, like on the necklace. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with it, man. Again, one of my favorite franchises. Would love to see this in the theaters as well. So can't wait to see more. And listen, once we do see the next trailer, because of course this is just a teaser trailer, so hopefully as we get closer to when the date comes out for it to be released, we'll get the story trailer and give a little bit more about it. So right now, waiting on more for the Uncharted series with Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg. Looks good, man. Just looks good. Keep it up. Keep it up, Sony. Keep it up, Sony. Yeah. So now let's get right into the big movie of was supposed to be the movie of the year, right? It's supposed to be the movie that everybody was talking about since last year that's being made. We're going to talk about Dune. Dune, oh my goodness. So let's talk Dune. We'll go non-spoilers first to talk about Dune. And just right off the bat, I want to tell everybody, if you have not seen Dune yet, please do yourself a favor. You have the option for HBO Max. Don't do that. Don't do it. You find yourself a nice AMC Dolby theater with the Atmos sound effects. Dude, the first opening scene, I don't know about you guys, but it looked like the light was real. It was like this big spaceship thing in a sandstorm, and it was just like this little light just gleaming, and I'm like, is that a light behind the projector? looks amazing. So I just want to make sure you guys get a chance. Of course, if you got to feel safe, you got to make sure that you're vaccinated, and if you're not vaccinated, that you feel safe enough to go to these theaters to go watch it. You do have the option for HBO Max to watch it at home, save a little money. But I'm telling you, visually, you want to see this in an IMAX, big theater, big screen, surround sound. It was amazing visually and how we say auditorily, just sound wise, just incredible. So we got the HBO Max versus the movie theater thing out the way. I'm pretty sure the fellas kind of agree with me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is a movie you're gonna want to see in the movie theater.
All right, because my mom.
I don't think anyone's TV screen is big enough to see this movie.
Nah, this movie was insane. It was huge.
Yeah.
But HBO Max versus movies. So that's out the way.
Yeah.
So now let's go into the non-spoilers review of Dune. Brandon, why don't you tell me how you felt about this movie, how it played along and everything there for you?
Oh, these guys knew exactly what they were doing when they made this movie. They knew that this was going to be the Oscar contender for this year. They had no doubt about it. Visually, it's stunning. The music from, I believe Hans Zimmer did the music for this one. Yeah. It's reminiscent of his other works, which as a musician, I'm gonna be very critical. It's very reminiscent of his other works, but it works very well in Dune. Just the soundscape, having that it's funny, anytime there's a Middle Eastern base type setting, there's a certain sound or music that plays, and that sound was present throughout the entire movie, but it was actually really appropriate with a lot of the themes that were being provided in the movie. So So it was very appropriate to the themes of the movie, but it was funny, looking back on it, I'm like, really? This is it? I was like, all right. But it was very good visually, orally. One of the biggest things for me is when you jump into science fiction is that they always have to integrate you into their politics. Every book has its own political standpoint, and you have to understand the politics to understand the story. And that's a huge part of this movie. But they do it in a way where, well, at least in the movie, I don't know about the book, but they do it in this movie. They put it in a way where it's easy to follow, where it can't get a little complicated, but they put it in an easier way to get it, So I really commend them on their way of making it simple for us to follow along. So I would definitely say you should see this in the movie theater. If you're looking for a big action all the time movie, this ain't it. No. But if you're looking for a movie that is very detailed, has a lot of moving parts that gets you excited for potential sequels down the line, I would say definitely go see it.
Yeah, talk about detailed and depth. The movie felt like it was 3.5 hours long. All right. We said it when we saw the trailer. It looks like a good 4-hour movie. It felt like I was there forever. There was a couple of times where the movie felt like it was ending, and I was just like, holy shit, they're still going. But even with that being said, even though it did feel a little long, and it was long, I can't lie that the movie was really, really, really good. I'm going to say you should see it. I'm not going to say you need to see it. You should definitely see it, though, because of the visual, the auditory sounds of everything coming on, like Brandon was saying, the sound effects throughout the movie. There's some hints of almost like Black Panther with the drums and some of the stuff that you hear in the background in a lot of scenes as well. But I'm just saying, the story itself, it's easy to follow because they're thorough, very thorough in telling the story. You kind of get it as piece by piece, because it is, again, 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes long. So it definitely goes into details. But the thing that makes it so engaging is the acting. The actors in this movie and the acting in this movie is incredible. We have Oscar Isaac in there. Timothy Chalamet, is his name? Chalamet isn't his name. You know, Zendaya's name is in the movie, but she's really not in a lot of the movies. She's in a few scenes here and there. The wife of Oscar Isaac. Well, I don't know. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll save that for spoilers.
Yeah.
The mom role in this movie, she kills it as well. I'm not sure which Skarsgård this is. This is the Skarsgård from Marvel. This is the Skarsgård that's the scientist. Is it Stellan Skarsgård?
This is one of 8.
It's the scientist that fucks shit up with the freaking the Mind Stone.
Yes.
The naked one
from Thor.
from Thor. There you go. That's the Skarsgård we're talking about, and he absolutely kills it as the bad guy in this movie, man. It's just nuts to see him play the Baron, they called him in the movie. But like Brandon was saying, the politics of this movie, understandable, and you get what's happening. And then when the certain twist happens, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. This is why this is happening. And it kind of like, again, it slowly walked you through it, so you kind of get it as it's happening. But again, you should see this movie. I think it's fantastic as far as the look of it and the feel of it, the sound of it. It's just really, really good. But again, if you're not into sci-fi, you're not into long movies without a lot of action and stuff like that, this might not be the movie for you. But if you're into some story details and good acting, you definitely should check this out. Yeah. Al, how about yourself, man? Your final thoughts on all of this stuff here?
And I mean, if we're going into recommendations with the non-spoiler, I would say for me, if you saw the original Dune. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the book because I never read the book either, but I saw the original Dune when it came out with Sting and so forth. If you saw that movie, you have to see this one because the first one, what it tells through exposition, like in the first movie, a lot of the storyline is told through them thinking out loud. And I guess it's because that movie in 2 hours and 15 minutes told the entire story, whereas this movie in 2 hours and like a half or 45 minutes only told half the story. So you really get into the depth of the story, why things are happening. You get a better understanding of why the events actually take place in terms of the houses being against each other. And then, like you guys said, the visuals, just seeing the way they fight. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the original, the shield that they use to defend themselves was just like blocky. So just seeing that modernized with the technology of today, just seeing the acting, Josh Brolin, Jason.
Oh yes, forgot like Brolin.
Yeah, just seeing them and showing that it's modern times. They're using modern technology, but there's a lot of that old school honor and tradition. It was a good thing to see on the movie, and like you guys are saying, the sound design, the cinematography, everything came together. And to your point, this is why you have to see it in a movie theater, because you're not going to get the same effect of some of the sounds, especially there's an ability, I guess we'll get to it during the spoilers, that some of the characters have. And when they implement it, if you don't have a good sound system at home, you're not going to really get the true effect of what it's supposed to have, like you do when you hear it in the theater and they're exercising it. So, yeah, now this is, for me, it was a must-see and a must-see at a theater. Just like you said, just go well-rested and make sure you got time to soak it all in.
Yeah, man. Like the second viewing, HBO Max second viewing, without a doubt. Sucks for the people making money off of it, but HBO Max for a second viewing because I get to pause it.
I get to think about it.
I need a break. I get back to it. You know what I mean? So I do. My mom watched the whole thing in one sitting. I'm like, how? Oh, wow. Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. So insane. But she loved it. She absolutely loved it. She keeps telling me that she liked it a lot. So that's pretty cool. Listen, you heard us here. You got a must see from a couple of us, and then you should see from me. So it's definitely something you should be able to watch in a theater. But again, it's a talky movie. It's a lot of detail, so make sure you're prepared for something like that, and it's well worth watching. Honestly, it really is. So let's go right into a spoiler review now. So you guys know, spoiler reviews means we get a little bit more in depth. We kind of spoil some of the stuff that happens, some of the scenes, and some of the surprises and stuff like that. So, if you don't want to hear it, you pause us, come back to us at another time after you watch the movie. But otherwise than that, if you don't care or you saw the movie already, here we go. All right. So now, Al, this movie, man, you were saying some of the things that are there with the sound. You're talking about what is it they call it? The talk or
the voice?
The voice.
Yeah. Apparently these Bene Gesserits, they have an ability to control a person through voice. And when they do this ability, you hear it. Like, obviously, you hear them say the command, but there's a change to the tone and tenor of their voice. Right. And it's made to be impactful when they say it in the movie. Mm-hmm. So, like, not only do you know that they're using an ability because you see the person obviously do what they say, but you feel it. Well. Yeah, kid, especially like you said, if you go to a Dolby Atmos and like you feel your chair shake when they tell that person, come here, and so forth. So, yes.
Dude, when he told his mother to pass the water, I was like, he's going to get slapped.
I was like, yo, what are you doing?
I'm like that.
You'll talk to your mom like that.
Oh, when did they call it a witch in the new one? I forget if they call it a witch in the new one. I know they do in the old one. When she ordered Paul to come in and kneel, like, yo, like she said it, and like a second later, he was already on the ground. And why?
He said, you can't use the voice on me.
How dare you?
She already did. She already did
it. Bro, it already happened.
Oh, man. So, I mean, Brandon, man, watching this movie, did you watch it again on HBO Max yet or no?
I have not. I haven't had 3 extra hours yet.
Well, neither have I, but that is definitely going to be one of my goals of the next couple of months here is to get a chance to watch it on HBO Max. But there's some other movies I need to catch up on first. But is there something in the movie that stood out to you that you really, really enjoyed the most?
I would say probably the one big action scene everybody was waiting to happen was the betrayal that led into the war of both of the opposing sides that came together to go against House Atreides, and just how that whole scene pandered out with, the different kind of stems of the tree. At one point you have the Dr. Yue who betrayed them is, with Duke Atreides and trying to replace his tooth and telling him, you're the only person who's going to kill this guy, so you have to do this. Then you have, on the other path, you have Jason Momoa's character is fighting people. You've got Paul and and the concubine mother who are, making their escape. You've got Josh Brolin over here who is still at war. So you have all these threads happening at the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
And no one knows, what's happening with anybody else, but they all know that their duty is to do X, Y, and Z. And just the way the whole scene carried out for almost 15 minutes, it was incredible. It was really great to see, just from start to finish, to how we got to a lull in space for a second. Was just, by the time Paul and his mother got away, to what was it? Jason Momoa's character is something Idaho. I forget his name.
Duncan,
Idaho, right? Duncan, Idaho, flying away. You don't know what happens to Joshua's Brolin character, but it's inferred that this thing crashed down on them. The Duke Atreides is captured. So, like, from start to finish, all these threads kind of happening at the same time, and how it all culminated into the next scene was really cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How about for you, Al? Any favorite moments that stood out for you?
It would be that battle.
The battle stood out. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that sneak attack, it played out so well in terms of letting you know what was happening and why, and because you have like Brandon alluded to, you had that doctor, you find out why he's betraying. As loyal as he was to the family, he had to try to protect his family, like his actual family, because the Harkness had his wife, and they were promising to let her go if he turned over the Duke. So you had all these little nuances of what was going on, despite the fact that there was so much going on, and they just played out everything in my opinion, so well in terms of still letting you know what was going on despite everything that was happening. Because there was a lot happening, and I was able to sit back, listen, and actually understand what was going on, why, the pettiness of what was going on, why they were being attacked, over something stupid as the House of Atreides was becoming popular. People were turning to them for information, knowledge, support, and this emperor was jealous.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Set them up, and like the leader of the Harkonnen said, when Dave Bautista, we even forgot that he's in here. He plays the main military guy for the House of Harkonnen. When he says, how could they do this to us? Like they felt like they were victimized.
Yeah.
And he tells them, he goes, when is a gift not a gift? In essence, like, don't think that he's doing Atreides a favor. And then, you have this attack go down, and you see Jason Momoa, fighting against all odds. Like, it almost made me think of when you see Captain America fighting Thanos and Thanos and all his army, and it was just him, and he's still fighting, and he went back to that thing of like the honor and everything. So it was a modern movie, but there was so many of those old warrior soldier movies that I saw in parts of this movie, and it made me enjoy it a little bit better.
Absolutely, man. And listen, was it me, or was this probably the best acting of Jason Momoa's life?
Yeah, kid.
I feel like...
And he shaved.
He shaved. I have like this weird thing with Jason Momoa, because I feel like, almost like Ryan Reynolds, Jason Momoa is always playing Jason Momoa.
Right.
But I feel like in this movie, he was Jason Momoa, but realized he was acting. So, like, I think this was a different one for him. Because, like, Aquaman was Jason Momoa. Justice League was Jason Momoa. This movie was like, I'm going to give you some Jason Momoa, but I'm going to be Duke Idaho, too. Like, I was like, he's finally acting.
Yeah, he had some style, and he commanded some respect as well. And just a few lines and a few things that he did throughout the movie, I was just like, oh, this guy's a badass, which is Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah. I think for me, my favorite scene in this movie is actually when they first got to the planet of where the spice is. What's the name of the planet there?
Arrakis.
Oh, yeah. So when they got there, just to see the reaction of the House of Atreides family to being Arrakis, going through the different places in Arrakis for the first time, seeing the people, talking to the people, a lot of that stuff to me was just like, wow, that's pretty amazing and cool how it looked, the things that they were saying to each other and how they were talking, and reunited with other generals, soldiers, and stuff like that, and all the conversations they were having. I absolutely love that part. Of course the main fight is the stealer of the movie, the scene stealer of the movie there. But I really appreciated that first time being there, because it felt like it was the first time I was there with them. It just felt like, wow, this is awesome. This is so cool. See different, places that they were going to. We got that scene with the worm in the sand there, the huge worms. I forgot what they were called though, but it was just very visually amazing. And again, all the acting in there. One of the people that I think stole the movie as far as acting go, and this is not hard to say because Oscar Isaac pretty much is always a great actor, but dude, there's some scenes in there when he's talking to Timothée Chalamet's character, which I believe is Paul Atreides.
Yeah.
And he's just a real dad. There was a point where Sanj was sitting next to me in the theaters, and I think Paul Atreides was saying to his dad, like, I'm not sure if I want to be the king or the person in charge, and like not doing it. And he goes, you know what? that's okay. I didn't want it either. He goes, but what I'm proud of is the fact that you're my son, and that's what all he needs to be. And Sachi in the middle of the theater goes, that's good parenting. He said it so loud too, Sachi. I was like, that's good parenting. It was. And you know these guys are actors, but it hit something when that guy was talking to Timothy Chalamet's character there, and I'm just like, wow, this guy's killing it. And then in all the other scenes, he's killing it as the main leader of the House of Atreides there. Yeah. And it just, again, their acting is incredible in this thing. Now, what I will say is I did get a little lost because I guess maybe I wasn't reading all the stuff right and seeing everything right, was when we went back to the House of Arcanins, they were planning to attack, and then you had these guys in white soldier suits. I didn't realize those were the people from the Spice World.
No. No, the people in the white suit were the Emperor's elite killing squad,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Not the Emperor from the House of Arcanin, the Emperor from where the spice was from.
Well, the Emperor of the known universe is how he's referred to. So he's on another world. That's the only part they didn't do as well in this movie as they did in the original. Like in the original, they show you all of the worlds that are a part of the story. In this one, they tell you it's the Emperor of the known universe, and he's setting up the House of Atreides to be killed off by the House of Harkonnen. So he's on his own world and so forth. And those white guys that came descending down, those were his elite killing squad.
Gotcha. Now that makes a little bit more sense to me, because I'm like, are they from the people from there or from here? And I think that's the one thing I think they could have done a little bit better, if anything, because a lot of it was really good, was to kind of show us or tell us who the Emperor was, or show them that he's in a different far off planet or another planet somewhere else. Because the whole time I'm thinking that these guys were the original people from that world, because they showed us in some of the Paul Atreides, I guess, flash forwards or, future thoughts or future visions. They showed him in different suits. So I thought those were the suits that he saw them in, but I guess they're different suits. They're more beige than white, I guess. But that's the only thing that was a little bit confusing for me at first. But then you guys, after the movie, kind of explained it to me too. Yeah. Listen, as far as the action goes, though, I mean, when the action did happen, it was top notch.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, can we just talk about the visuals on some of this stuff, dude? Like, I have to remind myself that that's CG, and it made it feel like those were really things that were there. It was
okay. Yeah.
Dude, I would say 92% of the movie is CGI.
Yeah.
But it's just so clean.
Yes.
Yeah. That scene. Yeah. It's like seeing when the spice rover or whatever they call it, broke down, and that all lifter or whatever it's called was supposed to come and rescue it. That whole scene where then it broke down, and he's like, no, we're not leaving anybody, and they go to try to that really looked like that was taking place with live equipment in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
I really thought that was all really happening. They obviously, it was like you said, it was all CGI, but it looked real.
Yeah, man, definitely looked real.
Okay.
And any negatives for you, Al? Like something that didn't work for you in this movie?
No, I mean, honestly, there were so many things that were working for me that I really didn't have time to dwell on anything that didn't. The only part, I guess, no, I take that back. The only thing that I didn't like was I mean, they had to do it, but the inclusion of Zendaya's character. I felt like it was such an obvious push that, okay, this is not the only movie, because every scene that she was in was more of a reference to that there's going to be a sequel up until the end, until where she really became. But otherwise, like you said, he's having all these premonitions. There's nothing happening that's matching those premonitions. So this is clearly something in the future. So if we're not seeing that in this movie, then there must be another movie. So it just kept setting up that, okay, there's a sequel, there's going to be a sequel, and I when I realized that or felt like that's what they were doing, it kept almost taking me out of the movie, but then something would happen and would keep me right in there. And there was like so many little nuances. Like I'm trying not to forget this one scene, but when he first meets, what's his name? What's his name? The Spanish actor that he played.
Javier Bardem's character.
Yes, when he meets his character and he's representing the Fremen, and he comes in and he spits on the floor, and everybody immediately thinks he's insulting the Duke, and they immediately go to like almost attack him and so forth, and they have to call him off. And Jason Momoa has to say, because we all do this, we don't know another culture, so we assume the negative based on our culture.
Our culture, yeah.
And Jason Momoa had to stop him and say, "Thank you for honoring us with the fluid of your body." Like in essence, this was a friendly gesture, like an honor gesture. Like you know, they don't sacrifice any fluids from their body because they're in the middle of a desert. So to spit your fluid is to sacrifice something that you may need later to live. So it just reminded me so like little nuances like that. There's subtleties and stuff that we sometimes take for granted. And it just made me appreciate how much this movie was conveying with just facial expressions or, a pause and a comment, to accentuate the delivery. And I thought they, like you said, with the acting, they were doing such a great job in the movie that there wasn't really anything that I wanted to pick on or overly felt the need to pick on.
Yeah, man, that's a great thing that you brought up there, man, because I remember that scene and I remember thinking to myself, like, why would he spit? And I'm like, wait a minute, man, they're in the desert, man. They don't have any real water or anything like going through them. So it's like to give that up meant something. Yeah. Right? Yeah. As silly as it sounds, but that's what it meant to that culture.
Yeah.
Very interesting. How about for you, B? Anything that you didn't really work for you in this movie, or did you kind of just pretty much like everything?
I liked everything. I think the only thing that was semi-bugging me was the overall importance of Paul's mother, right? Because like she was around all of the movie, and until it was acknowledged that she was pregnant, there wasn't that much importance of her character. And I do remember some bits of the book, and I understand why she's important, in terms of the pregnancy of the soon-to-be daughter that she's going to have and such, but it's not made so clear why she's so important and why like everything. Like I feel like she could have died during the battle, like I didn't really see why she was so important. It took a bit, and then at the end of the movie she showed off all these badass skills, like it was like, oh, right. Okay, like that's great. So I just wish they gave her a little bit more push and development early on. They had a lot of time to do it. So I wish she got more time to develop herself. They gave her a lot of scenes, and how she acted with the Fremen, but even those scenes didn't develop her so much. Just kind of developed us understanding the Fremen. So like, I just wish there was more us developing her to understand why she's so important. Because it seemed like she was at the same level as the Duke, and he was dead an hour in. So like I was like, oh, she could bite it too.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man. So hey, what's going on, Sanj?
Hey, fellas. Sorry, I was late. I had to do a little parenting.
Yeah, no worries, man.
How you guys doing?
We always make time for parenting, Sanj.
we ain't got a choice, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So listen, Sanj, we're getting into our Dune. We're going into the spoilers right now. So we were just talking about some of the stuff that didn't work for us there. But before we get into what didn't work for you, Sanj, what's something that really worked for you with this movie?
I thought the pace was really good because it was clear that they were doing a lot of world building, trying to really introduce us to where it was set, the time it was set in. So that really, really worked for me because, we've been doing a lot of the superhero movies, a lot of the action movies and things like that, where you get a lot of action, you get a lot of high speed, whatever, transitions between scenes and just a lot of that high speed action going on, like really come at you stuff. So it was nice to get a change of gears and have a little bit more slower pace and a little bit more time to absorb everything that was going on. And even though it was it is set in a very desert environment, so it was very monochromatic. But even being monochromatic is still, I found it very visually stunning.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's one of the things that we all four of us kind of agreed upon right when we left the movie. It's just like visually, the thing was amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. But that's kind of like Villeneuve's move, right? Because didn't he make that movie with, oh my God, who was Lois Lane in the Man of Steel? I forgot, McAdams?
Kate Bosworth. No, sorry. That was, oh my God. That was not,
is it Amy Adams?
No, Amy Adams.
Amy Adams.
Yeah. Amy Adams.
Oh yeah, he did Contact.
Like,
not Contact.
Pick the right redhead.
But he did that movie. He shot that movie where she did with where the aliens came down and were reversing, or actually let her see time through a circle almost.
Yeah, Arrival.
Yes. That was really that movie was amazing. That movie was fucking deep. He made that movie, and you saw how visually stunning that movie was. So yeah, absolutely, man. But listen, Sanj, was there something in the movie that didn't work for you?
No, not really. But I mean, Jason Momoa's performance was like a little too goofy for the rest of it. Like no one was as goofy as him. I feel like he was still doing like Aquaman.
Jason Momoa. He was still being Jason Momoa.
But I mean, I still enjoy Jason Momoa being on the screen whenever he's on the screen. So it's like, I don't know. So I don't want to say too much anything negative about him, because I like seeing him on the screen.
Yeah, he's definitely.
He just felt his character just felt a little bit out of place the way he did. He performed it.
All right, no problem, man. So listen, for me, I think another one of the things that kind of like, I wouldn't say that I hated or it bothered me that much, but just thinking back on something on the movie, was I felt like the movie could have ended like 3 or 4 different times. Like you had the final scene where they were running away from the Emperor's military force, and Jason Momoa sacrificed himself and they got away. And like, we clearly know there's a part 2, because when the movie starts, it says Dune Part 1. So it's like, okay. So I just felt like, they were hinting at Zendaya's character and that they were going to meet up. I kind of felt like, okay, that might happen, right? But they could have ended the movie right there. No problem, they didn't end the movie. So they get away from the military people and they find a way to get across the desert. So then they have this whole thing where they finally link up and they do meet Zendaya's character. They could have ended the movie right there. No, here we go. We have to prove ourselves to the troop. With a fight to the death.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Like, I think a good place to, if they're going to break it up into parts and split it up that way, when they met Shani, Zendaya's character, that would have been a payoff moment. Like, he's been having these visions, having these dreams, and seeing her, and then she manifests and she's real. And it's like that aha moment, and that would have been an excellent place to stop it.
Right.
Since they were going to break it up.
He sees her, they meet. He says, "I'm Paul Atreides." She says, "I'm Shia." What was her name, Sanj?
Shani.
I'm Shani. Fade to black. Ha ha, yeah. That's it.
I mean, listen, that was another thing I really like. I mean, anything Hans Zimmer. If Hans Zimmer just came and played one note the whole movie, and that was the whole score. Once it's Hans Zimmer, I'm fine. I'm happy.
Yeah. Oh man. So now we're gonna not end on this, but just kind of towards the end here. The last thing here is that one of the things that I think, unfortunately, is kind of like ass backwards. You make a movie called Part 1, and then you don't make the Part 2 or start working on Part 2, or you haven't even greenlit working on Part 2.
Yeah.
We're still going to ask the question there. Al, are you looking forward to a part two, and are you going to go see it right away when it comes out?
Oh, definitely.
Right
Yeah.
after what you saw.
That was one of my biggest disappointments, was finding out that they haven't contracted anybody for the sequel. They don't have, obviously now, based on all these people's schedules with any other projects they may have lined up after this, it may be years before we even get them to start filming the sequel.
Right.
So so something of this scale, I'm surprised they didn't already at least contract them for a sequel and say, we'll make the contract be contingent that if the movie gets a certain dollar amount, we will be filming a sequel the following year or something like that, so that they know they have to keep their schedule, something.
Mm-hmm.
So to not have any of that in place, I was a little surprised, considering how much they did spend on making this movie, which was billed as book one. How would you not already have hedged? All right, let's make sure we're able to make book two right away and ride this wave, as opposed to, oh, let's hope we can build the hype up all over again 4, maybe 5 years later.
Yeah, man. And not to mention, they already pissed the director off with this whole HBO Max thing.
Yeah.
So who knows if he'll want to come back now and finish.
Yeah, not only him, but the people that financed the movie were pissed off because of this dual release.
Absolutely, man. Brandon, how about you, man? Are you willing to see a Dune Part 2?
I mean, yeah, I'm excited to finish this part of the story. I know there are multiple books in the Dune series that are, expand past this. So I'm excited to see what could be the start of a universe, for Dune, in the same ways that Star Wars had their, will still have their universe. But, I could see the potential for more. I, like you guys, I'm shocked that there was no part 2 announced. It almost makes me feel like they weren't confident with this one, and given how much they put into this, this, when they made this movie, it looks Oscar contender, so given what how much faith they put into this movie to make it look and sound the way it did, I'm so confused as to why it wasn't a thought in their mind to finish this story.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, I have to say, even though out of the four of us, I probably was the least, I don't want to say impressed, because I was impressed, but the least in a need to see it. I've said you should see it kind of thing. I am looking forward to a part 2. I mean, I would love to continue this story, to see the visuals, to see hear the sounds of this movie again. It's definitely something I would want to explore some more, learn more about this, this universe and everything. I'm so interested in finding out who the hell this emperor is, so I'm definitely down to see some more Dune. Sanj, how about yourself, man? More Dune for you in the future?
Absolutely. And a big shout out to our Real Fan Review fandom, Big Mo. So I was talking to him a little bit about Dune, and he is so into Dune, and he could not wait for this movie to come out. He's read all the books and everything, and the way he was talking to me about it, he has me excited to go get all the books and read everything and know the whole story, and everything. And he can quote everything from the original movie.
Wow.
So I had to go after I spoke to him, I had to go watch the original Dune, to really, see what it was about and everything. Mm-hmm. But my level of excitement is way up for more installments from this world.
Gotcha. Now listen, what's funny? I know Al did the same thing. Al kind of watched the original one as well to kind of get prepared for the movie, or kind of see the differences between the two. For Sanj, for you, what were the main differences in the two stories so far?
Well, the main difference in the two movies is that the original movie from the 80s condenses the story, and there's no part 1 and part 2. They show you the whole story.
Gotcha.
Of that first book there. So that was the main thing. It goes a lot faster. They just it's very quick, all right, this is what's happening. Yep, let's move to this scene, let's move to that scene. They don't spend the time that Dune 2021 did in world building. They kind of just throw the information at you and then, let's move on. Also, there's Patrick Stewart, so that's always a plus. He plays Gurney. Patrick Stewart plays Gurney in the original.
There's also Sting.
Yes. You gotta see Sting in the original. It is incredible.
Wait, is Sting Paul?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, cool, man. Al, how about you, man? How did you find the differences between the 2021 version and the 1980 version?
Yeah, it was early 80s or something. Like Sanj said, just that it rushed everything. Like I was saying before, like a lot of the story is told to you so that they can move past and move forward. There's a lot of what they act out in this movie. There's a lot of supposed thought being said to explain why this is happening. So instead of you seeing an interaction between two characters and seeing that interaction explain the story, they tell it to you.
Gotcha.
And that's how they get what's going to look like be a 5-hour story condensed into 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Right. So and it is a little bit more goofy. Parts of it are a little bit more goofy, like the Baron. He's more like a
when he floats around.
Him when it goes to him and like his people and whatnot is definitely like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory Oompa Loompa kind of feel for their end of it. So there's that.
Yeah, I gotta say that's the one thing that made me laugh was when they found him hanging in the ceiling in a corner like this. Yeah, I was like, oh man, that's Baron. Little bitch. Yeah, man. But listen, guys, you hear us talking about the movie, man. We all pretty much enjoyed it and loved it and liked it. It's just
I think that might have been the longest non-spoiler review that we've ever done.
For you, bro, we've been here.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, man. But listen, that's pretty much it. There. You know what, Sanj? What is your recommendation for this? Is it a should see it, need to see it? What's it for you, man?
I mean, it's so different than movies than other movies coming out now. I think you need to go out and see it.
All right.
It's that good. It really is that good.
Ah, I love it. And
great performances too.
Oh yeah, fantastic acting. Yeah, absolutely, man. So guys out there, go check it out. Listen, again, if you can, not pushing anybody to go to the theaters if they don't want to. HBO Max is there for you guys. But if you want to see it the way this movie's meant to be seen, AMC or any theater that has those digital Atmos surround sound experience, you got to see it that way, man.
You need that subwoofer in your seat. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Nothing's better than the opening, though. The freaking atomic breakdown of the Coca-Cola colliding particles,
and then it fades to black, and then they're like, "Yes, the projector's still on. This is black."
Still on.
Like that was a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Brandon lost his shit when the commercial ended. I don't know. I looked over. Brandon's like hysterically laughing.
It was the colliding Coca-Cola particles that really got. Like, this is what happens when you drink a Coca-Cola.
Oh. So listen, guys out there listening and ladies listening, this is the Real Fan Review from Long Island, New York. And listen, next week we're going to be talking about Eternals. We're going to get you guys ready for Eternals coming out the following week after that.
Yes.
There's no real big movies that are coming out this week, but next week we'll probably update you with some of the stuff that we've been watching, whether it's on YouTube. I know Al's been watching the Squid Games.
Yeah.
I think Brandon too, so maybe we'll give a little chat about that. But definitely get you prepped for Eternals coming out on November 3rd. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching. If you want to let us know what you thought of Dune, hit us on the little comment section there on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on a podcast app, just go ahead and email us at the realfanreview@gmail.com. Again, the real is REEL. Guys, thank you so much. So coming out of Long Island, New York, you got my man Sanj.
Good evening, everybody, and be safe out there.
We got my brother B.
Adios, everybody.
We got our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yes, and myself, Hob, saying thank you again. Please hit that little subscribe button for us, or hit a little plus symbol there on your podcast app to make sure that every week, whenever we put out a podcast, you are able to see it, hear it, and be a part of it with us. We'll see you on the next episode. Eternals Prep. Till next time.